بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome dear students. This is Miss Layla Al-Jihani. Inshallah today we will continue our unit 6, Culture Shock. Today inshallah we will cover lesson 3, the grammar. Before we start the lesson, let's recall what we covered in our previous lesson. In our previous lesson, we covered 2, listen and discuss, and pair work, okay? We describe customs of different cultures. Also, we used expressions of advice in a given context. This is what we covered in our previous lesson. Inshallah, today, by the end of the lesson, you will be able to use and form the infinitives in meaningful sentences. Also, use gerunds as subjects of statements. I think the gerunds, this is not a new topic we cover. We covered it before, so it's like a revision, inshallah, today. So before we start, I gave you a homework, page 123, okay? We have different words in the table. I'm not gonna read it all, I'm just gonna show you the answers. And we have different, you have to put the words in the correct place, okay? So let's see the answers. The first one we have remove, we put remove. Then mud, dust and mud. Number 2, exchange. Number 3, we have tip, okay? Now can we see number 4? We put punctual, to be punctual. And number 5, we have comment. The last one, 6, we have 2 words, which is graduate and lawyer, okay? These are the words we put it in the blank. Now, moving on to our lesson, please open your books, page 60 and 61. We will cover the grammar, inshallah, today. Before we start, I want to ask you this question. What do you want to do this weekend? I want you to think this weekend. What do you want to do? I want to go swimming. I want to buy a laptop. I want to eat outside. I want to play football. So I heard a lot of examples. Let's see them. I want to read a book. I want, sorry, here we have to write 2. Yalla, let's write it together. I want to buy a laptop. I want to swim. I want to play football. I want to watch TV. When you look at these sentences, where do you think the verb is? Where can we find the verb? Can you show me the verb? Read. Okay. Buy. Swim. Okay. The 4th sentence, play. Watch. Look again. Are they verbs? Are they the verbs of the sentence? Here we have the subject I. صح? I, the verb is want. So the verbs in the sentence is want. Okay? طيب يا miss, what do we call these? Read, buy, to buy, to swim, to play, to watch. What do we call them? We call them infinitives. We call them infinitives. Okay? How do we form the infinitives? How do we form them? We have 2 plus the verb. The verb, it's in the base form, no S, no ED, nothing, only the base form of the verb, okay? Let's see these examples. I'd like to be. So the verb here, like, okay? Here the verb, want. And the infinitive is to buy, to be and to buy. I'd like to be a teacher. They want to buy a new car. Okay, these are 2 examples. We use, when we are forming, want to form the negative. When we want to change these 2 negatives. How do we form the negatives? We form the negative with the infinitives. We put not before the infinitives. زي ايش يا miss? They managed not to spend. We put not before the infinitive. A lot of money. We tried not to be late. Okay? So when we want to write a sentence, the negative form of the sentence, we put not before the infinitive. Okay? Looking at our book, page 60, you can see the first rule, which is verb plus infinitive. The infinitive form can follow certain verbs. We can't use infinitives a lot. We have some verbs, we put after it, the following one would be infinitives, like the ones here. And if you can remember previously in our gerunds, we have certain verbs, we put verb ing, the gerunds after it, صح? So with the infinitives, we use afford, choose, decide, expect, forget, hope, learn, manage, offer, promise, refuse, remember, and try. Okay? Let's see the examples here. Expect, the verb expect, so after it we use the infinitive. We didn't expect to arrive so late. Manage, they managed to get an earlier flight. Refuse, another verb. After it, we use infinitive. The airplane refused to pay for our hotel. Remember, I didn't remember to bring my toothbrush. Try, she tried to sleep on the plane, but she couldn't. Okay? This is it for the first part of our grammar today. As I told you, some verbs are followed by gerunds. You can go back to Unit 4, page 40, as a revision, and so you can remember which verbs followed by infinitives and which verbs followed by gerunds. Okay? Another part of our lesson, sometimes we have the verb. In the middle, we have the noun or pronoun, then we have the infinitives. We don't write the verb followed by infinitives all the time. Sometimes they are separated in the middle with a noun or pronoun, okay? Let's see the examples. In Latin America, families allow, this is the verb, children, this is the noun, okay? To stay, this is the infinitive, up late. In China, people don't expect you to tip. So here we have the verb, pronoun, and then the infinitive. We have more examples here. You can write it down as an extra practice so you can learn how can we form the sentences. I asked him to leave. I need you to help me. I want my friend to come. So we have the verb, infinitive. In the middle, we have either a noun or a pronoun. This is sometimes, okay? Let's see another situations with infinitives. Sometimes with infinitive, we use it's, okay? We start the sentence with it's. كيف يا miss? Let's see the examples. It's polite to. Then we continue the sentence. We start the sentence that way. It's not polite to, or it's impolite to. Then you can write the verb. So it's polite to remove your shoes before going to a house. صح? This is an example. So you write after to, you write a verb in the base form to form a sentence. It's rude to, it's common to, it's wrong to, it's advisable to, it's a good idea to. Here we have a note, and you can see it on your book. Some of these expressions can be used for advice, okay? For example, it's advisable to, it's a good idea to. I want you to look at these statements, and I want you to form sentences. I want you to write sentences. It's polite to what? Try to complete it. It's impolite to what? Try to complete it. Try to write some statement, pause the video, write down some sentences, compare your answers with your friends, and here I wrote some. It's polite to let a person finish speaking before you speak. It's impolite to interrupt a person. It's rude to talk with your mouth full of food. It's common to tip a waiter 15%. It's logical to study for a test. It's advisable to drive carefully. It's a good idea to write a thank you note when you receive a gift. So I used these phrases and wrote down sentences using the infinitives, okay? Share your statements with your class, and we will see I think this is not the last part, this is another part of our grammar, expressions of advice with infinitives. Sometimes we use infinitives to give an advice, okay? Like what? When you want to give an advice, you can say, like for example, if your friend calls you, or your sister or your brother calls you and he says or she says, I really have a toothache, or my stomach hurts, I don't know what to do. You can say, try to drink soup, try to go to the dentist. So you give them advice, okay, using the infinitives. Now here, when we give advice, we have try to, try not to, remember to, don't forget to, make sure to, be sure to. Okay, these expressions, we use it when we want to give advice, okay? When we want to put it in sentences, try to be on time. This is an advice. Try not to be late. Remember to bring your notebook. Don't forget to buy milk. Make sure to do your homework. Be sure to get a good night's sleep. Can you give your friends advices using these expressions? Try to write it down, give them the advice, and share your advices with your friends in class. Now for the last part of our grammar today, this is the last part, which is related to, if you can remember, I will ask you this question. What do you like to do? I like reading. I like writing. I like swimming. Okay? This is something not new. We have I like reading books. So where is the verb? Like. Like is the verb in these sentences. We have reading, eating, swimming, playing, watching. What do we call them? We call them gerunds. Okay? How do we form the gerunds? How do we form them? We have verb plus ing. Like for example, learning is fun. Learning is fun. Where is the verb in this statement? Where is the verb? Is it learning? No, learning is a gerund. It's is. Is the verb, okay? Gerunds are sometimes work as a subject in the sentence. We can find it as a subject. This is what we are focusing. Before, we covered the gerunds when it's a subject, object, and an object of preposition. This is how we cover the gerunds. Today, only we will focus on the gerunds when they work in the sentence as a subject, okay? Let's see our book, page 60. Gerunds and subject. A gerund can be used as the subject of the sentence. This is what we understood. Like, for example, traveling is a good way to learn about other cultures. Tipping is not common in Japan. So we have traveling and tipping. These are the gerunds. The verbs are is in these two sentences. Now, moving to exercise A, make sentences use infinitives. So here we will use the infinitive, add its, sometimes we will add its where necessary. Not in every sentence we will use its. We will use its in some statements, okay? Look at the exercise, pause the video, try to do it with your friends. I will go through the answers with you. Number one, we have good idea, follow, local customs. How can we form a sentence? It's a good idea to follow local customs. We formed a sentence here. Number two, we have we managed get seats on the crowded bus. So we can say we managed to get, excellent, to get seats on the crowded bus. Three, not advisable. So here we have to form it as a negative. Carry a lot of money. How can we form it? It's not advisable to carry a lot of money. Number four, make sure to tip taxi drivers. Now moving on to 5 and 6. Try, stay. So here we will add the infinitive with stay, to stay. So try to stay in places that are safe, okay? The last one, 6, polite, stand in line for a bus. It's polite to stand, here we added it, in line for a bus, okay? This is it for exercise A. Now moving to exercise B. Complete the following sentence with infinitives. Use the information in the article on pages 58 and 59. So here we have to go back to our previous lesson. The parts related to the customs and the countries. You have to go back to it to complete this table, okay? It's advisable in Japan. In Japan, it's advisable to what? To do what? Can you remember? Before, it's advisable to, when someone gives you a business card, it's advisable to read person's business cards and comment on it in Japan. Number 2, it's not a good idea to be late for an appointment in Germany. 3, it's polite to say sorry if you are accidentally bump into someone in England. Number 4, it's not common to wear shoes in the house in India. 5, it's important to use university graduates' titles in Mexico. We have to call them by the title. 6, it's common to eat dinner late in Mediterranean countries. This is it for exercise B. Now moving on to exercise C, look at the photos. You can see on your book different photos, page 61. You can see different photos, okay? Look at the photos, try to write statements. Look at the photos. What do you think the polite, not polite things or the right, wrong thing to do in your country? Looking at the pictures and thinking about here, us as Saudis, do you think it's right or wrong to do these customs in the pictures? Do you think it's right or wrong, okay? Like for example, it's polite for businessmen to shake hands. When they shake their hands, it's something polite to do when they finish the business, صح? Shaking hands is polite in my country. So we wrote this statement in 2 ways. Here we used it with the infinitive, and here we used it with the gerunds. You can form it either way, it's correct. Can you pause the video, please? Look at the pictures, try to write statements. You can use either infinitives or gerunds to form the sentences. Let's see the answers together. It's polite to remove your shoes at a mosque. صح? When we're thinking about Saudi. Here we use the infinitive. Removing, here we change it to a gerund. Removing your shoes at a mosque is the polite thing to do. It's impolite to shout at the waiter. Raising your hands is the right thing to do. It's rude to point at people. Pointing at a person is not accepted. It's not polite to to put your feet on the seat. Putting your feet on the seat is wrong. Okay, try to use these expressions. Read it quickly 3 times. Okay, as a challenge. Now, moving to exercise D. Complete the sentences with the correct form. The infinitive or gerund. So here we can use either infinitive or a gerund. Review the list of the verb. يا مس كيف أعرف choosing I will write ing gerunds or to plus the verb infinitives, which one I will use? You have to look at the verb, okay, and review the list on page 60 and the other one I believe on page 40. The list of the verbs on page 40, it's when you see it, then you will use the verb ing, the gerund. If you see a verb on the list, page 60, then you will use the infinitive. خلاص؟ طيب. So, the infinitive or a gerund. Review the list of verbs that can be followed by gerunds in Unit 4, page 40, and in our unit today, page 60. So, number 1, we enjoyed. Enjoyed, what do we use with it? We enjoyed drive, this is the verb, so we will say, we enjoyed to drive or driving along the scenic route on the way to the ocean. We say driving. We will use with enjoy, we use gerund. Number 2, Mahmoud managed. Managed with the verb managed. We say to do something or verb ing gerunds. We use the infinitive. So to change, we use the verb here. The tire in the dark. Number 3, I refuse. The verb refuse. After it, you will use infinitive or a gerund. Try different kinds of food. So I refuse to try different kinds of food. 4, we kept. The verb kept. We kept looking until we found a good restaurant for dinner. 5, I expected paying or to pay. To pay a lot of money for hotels. 6, I can't stand to wait or waiting. Can't stand, it's from page 40. So we say waiting in long lines. 7, please remember. Remember is one of the verbs in this unit. So we say to take. Okay? The last one, 8, I tried to learn some of the customs of the country before I traveled. So this is it for exercise D. Please, as further practice, do your homework, page 124 and 125, okay? If you want to revise what we covered in our lesson today, in our lesson we covered how do we form and use infinitives in sentences, and how do we use gerunds as subject of sentences, and we form sentences using gerunds as subject. Okay? Going to page 82, we will go through verb 25. We have meet, met, met. So meet in the present. He meets his friend at 7. He met his friend at 7 in past. He has met his friend. This is the present perfect. The verb 3. The second verb for today is pay, paid, paid. Okay? He pays much money. He paid much money, or he has paid as the present perfect. The last verb for today, we have put, and put. It's the same for all tenses. He put on a sweater. He put on a sweater. Past and present, it's the same. He has put on a sweater. Okay? So that's it for today. Thank you for listening, and inshallah I will see you next class.